This video is going to cover evaluating expressions for a given variable. Let's go ahead and get started with some of the ground rules. Always remember to use parentheses when plugging in a value for a variable. And we're going to go ahead and demonstrate that with this first example. So example number 1 says find the value of a plus 18 when a equals 8. Now, what does that mean? What am I going to do? When it gives me an expression, a plus 18, and it says a equals 8, this is saying another name for a is 8. Kind of like a nickname. And I can use that in place of somebody's name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy down this expression. But as I read it and I see the letter A, I'm going to say, hey, a nickname for a is 8, and I'm going to replace that with an 8. So 8, and I said to put that in parentheses, plus 18. Now the parentheses, if there's nothing surrounding it, can be dropped. So 8 plus 18. Well, that's something I can actually simplify. I know what the answer to 8 plus 18. I know that it's 26. So I am going to simplify those by adding them. And that is my answer. I found the value of that expression when a equals 8, when I replaced a with 8. Let's go ahead and take 2 on this. So find the value of 8 times p when p equals 9. So I'm going to take this expression right here, and this says that p has another name. P is also known as 9. So I can replace it, and I can rewrite 8 times, parentheses, 9. And I just replace that letter P with a 9. Well, there's nothing going on right outside that parentheses, so I can drop it. 8 times 9. And I can do that multiplication. I know what that is. So when I type it in my calculator, I get 72. So that is what evaluating is. Evaluating is simply plugging in my variable and then simplifying. So try this next one on your own. Pause and then press play when you're ready to continue. Find the value of 42 divided by p when p equals 6. So what do? 42 divided by, what was the other name for p? The other name for p was 6. 42 divided by 6 is 7. Continuing. What does the expression represent in words? So if I'm looking at this 5x plus 13, what does that mean? Like, what's going on there? And it's really important to understand this so that as we are evaluating harder expressions, we can simplify them correctly. This means in words 5 times. Now you might say to yourself, I don't see a multiplication sign in there. Remember, when a number is next to a variable, that means multiplication. 5 times x plus 13. So this expression says I'm going to multiply 5 and x together, and then I'm going to add 13. So when I'm evaluating the expression, when c equals 4 and d equals 8 of this, okay, well, what does this mean in words? This means d plus 5 times c. So when I evaluate, okay, it's saying c is 4, another name for c is 4, and another name for d is 8. So I'm going to retranslate this. Another name for d was 8, so I'm going to replace it with an 8. 8 plus 5 times, so this parentheses stands for multiplication, times another name for c is 4. So that goes in the parentheses. 8 plus 5 times 4. Well, can I do this math? Well, I sure can. I'm going to follow my order of operations, and I'm going to do the multiplication first. 5 times 4 is 20. 8 plus 20 is 28. Okay, so let's practice that again. So evaluate the expression when b equals 6. So another name for b is 6, and another name for c is -6. So here we go. I'm going to copy this down. I have to include the negative because it was already there. Another name for b is 6 plus 8. Another name for c is -6. And notice every time I take out a variable, I'm putting parentheses. So I continue and I simplify. A negative times 6 is -6 plus 8 times -6 is -48. And I'm going to go ahead and simplify because I can do that. -6 plus -48 is -54. And that's my answer. Hey, now it's your turn. Take a second, pause the video, and try this problem on your own. Remember, another name for b is 5 and another name for x is -4. All right, starting over. -5 plus 6 times -4 simplifies to -5 plus -24 for a final answer of -29. Okay, next type of problem. It says use the equations below to find v if u equals 16, a equals 11, and t equals 2. So we've got a bunch of nicknames. Now, it doesn't tell me what the nickname or what the other name of v is. That's because it says to find v. I don't know what v is. So v is equal to, leave that as a variable, u. I come up here. Another name for u is 16. So 16 plus a, parentheses, 11 times t. So parentheses times 2. Another name for t was 2. And I'm going to go simplify. Equals, v equals, nothing's being done to 16, nothing's being multiplied 16, so I'm going to drop the parentheses, plus, well, order of operations. 11 times 2 is 22. I'm going to continue to simplify. 16 plus 22 is a grand total of 38. So my final answer would be v equals 38. Okay, your turn. Try a similar problem. Pause the video, and when you're ready to continue, go ahead and press play. Hey, y equals m is 2 times x is 9 minus b is 6. 2 times 9 is 18 minus 6 is equal to 12. Last problem. Now, you'll notice on this page that we've got some fractions and decimals. Don't be intimidated. Remember that we are able to use our calculator, and I'm going to demonstrate that again. So when I evaluate this expression, I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. I'm going to be renaming my variables with these numbers. So here we go. 5. Renaming x as -2 over 15. And putting it in those parentheses whenever I replace a variable. Minus, put in the parentheses, 2/9. Write your answer in simplest form. And here's where I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator. Here we go. 5 parentheses -2/15. -2/15 equals, I'm going to turn that as a fraction, -2/3. Here we go. -2/3 minus 2/9. I'm going to type that into my calculator. -2/3 whoops, I forgot to put the negative up front. -2/3 minus 2/9. And my answer is, as a fraction, -8/9. So just use your calculator. In fact, nothing's wrong with typing this whole thing into your calculator at one time. It'll simplify it without you having to do any extra work. All right, last one. Okay, same thing goes with fractions as it does with decimals. So when I replace -3, what's the new name for b? -2.3 plus 6 What's another name for A? Negative 8.4. And when I simplify, and I'm just going to give you the final answer, go ahead and check it. Once you've tried it on your own, it is negative, whoops, I totally wrote the wrong thing down. It is negative 43.5. All right, go ahead, try this assignment on Alex, and when you're done, take a screenshot of your percentage, take a picture of your work, and submit that on Canvas.